Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. It's David Hodge. Welcome. All right, brothers and sisters. We're heading into the time that will change your life as you know it, forever. Change your life in an instance, in the blink of an eye. Things that you're doing on a daily basis will no longer be the norm or the usual. Life as you know it will be totally and completely different. Not in a good way. For what the reality has set up, which is a bunch of distractions and they're pacifying you, entertaining you, keeping you from your vision, keeping you in perish mode. So the things that you've endured and learned to enjoy are things that are not good for you anyway. Because this whole reality is set up against you anyway, brothers and sisters. So you've grown to enjoy what Master have set up for you, what these devils have set up for you. Sports, entertainment, television, social media, day-to-day activities, clubbing, kickbacks, barbecues, traveling, enjoying your hell, or trying to participate in enjoying the devil's paradise, which is your hell. But like I shared, we've grown to adjust. We've grown to enjoy these things. We've adjusted to being here. So we're doing the best we can to enjoy this hell and make it the best while we're here, right? And that's the point is I'm trying to get at is it's about to get much worse. This hell's about to get much worse. It's about to intensify. Unprecedented trouble, brothers and sisters. A time like no other. And never will there be. In the beginning is just is minimum versus what's about to take the full fledged, the whole the overall result of what's about to take place here is much worse than any uh, job loss, income instability, any banking or money issues. Far worse than prices rising, things getting high, groceries, gas, rent. You see, things are about to get bad, brothers and sisters. Worse than you can imagine. Tension and crime increasing, homelessness going up, rent increasing, evictions rising, foreclosures increasing, communities under stress, unrest, and uncertainty. All these activities slowing up, but it still doesn't it still doesn't match what's about to take place here in America, which is a total economic collapse, right? Famine, no food, no resources, no gas, no oil, no electricity, no electronics, no no heating, no energy for heating when it's cold in the dead of winter, freezing, no food. People eat constantly around the clock. Imagine not having any food for yourselves, for your family, for your loved ones, for people you care about. Watching them starve along with yourself, and then after a while, you still have to sustain yourself. So now, what does this turn you into? What will you become? What will you do to survive? What will people? What will be people's actions of survival? It says things are going to get bad. They're going to get real bad, brothers and sisters. And that's why we're here to guide you. That's why we're here to give you what you need to be successful and to guide you during a time of intense darkness, which will be the only thing that could guide you through it. We'll touch more on that in, um, in a minute, brothers and sisters. Excuse me. Let's take a look at what's taking place in the Middle East. Still ongoing conflict in the Middle East, brothers and sisters. Things are not getting any better, and they won't get any better. They claim peace talks continues. They're working on a deal, but we know there won't be no deals. Be realistic. all the harm and all the chaos and all the killing, and especially of important people of importance, and in general, what's been taking place. There is no room for peace. There's no forgiveness. There's no way that they can huddle up and make an agreement for what's been done. There's no coming back from this, brothers and sisters. So as I explained, they're discussing peace, but tensions remain high. The U.S. and the Iranian negotiators, their aim is to extend the ceasefire, but no final deal has been announced, and there's still several major issues that remain unsolved. The Strait of Hormuz remains a key concern. Shipping traffic has improved versus the earlier week or so, right? But the waterway remains heavily monitored and militarized. Excuse me, brothers and sisters. Energy markets are watching closely for any sign that tensions could disrupt oil shipment. Again, new sanctions and peace, diplomatic pressure. The United States continues economic pressure. They're thinking that their tactics will work against Iran through sanctions while the negotiation proceeds. The Iranians are seeking sanction relief as part of any border agreement. And also regional conflicts continue. Israeli operations against Hezbollah linked targets in Lebanon continue. Cross-border tensions remain a major obstacle to a border regional settlement. Key points, as I shared about the negotiations between the United States and Iran, they're still concerned about Iran's nuclear activities. The Strait of Hormuz, which they're calling dangerous. Sanction relief, regional security arrangements, long-term guarantees for shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. They need that. 20% of what people need is going through the Strait of Hormuz. People be affected. People die. Topsoil, stuff of that nature. People's lives will be affected, and that's just 20%. So imagine what happens when you get cut off completely. So you beware of when they say that things are calm and peaceful, right? They're claiming at the height things are much calmer than during the height of the conflict. But we know behind the scenes, that's just talk, it's English. We know what's really going on. We know it's chaos. Military forces remain on high alert across the region. The determination, whether diplomacy succeeds or tensions rise again. The region remains weak, fragile. Negotiations are moving forward, but the ceasefire is still not yet secure. See, that's what they're worried about. And conflicts in Lebanon and concerns over the Strait of Hormuz continues to threaten stability. But as I explained, we're not being in peace. The things that have been done, the things that has been done is unforgivable.
Tensions in West Asia have reached yet another boiling point as a powerful statement from Iran's Islamic Revolution Guards Corps, the IRGC, has sent shockwaves across the region and beyond. In a strongly worded declaration, the IRGC has condemned recent Israeli airstrikes in Gaza, calling them not only an act of aggression, but part of what it describes as a long and violent campaign against Palestinian leadership and civilians. But it was the final message in the statement that drew the most attention and sparked immediate global concern. According to the IRGC, peace in West Asia as it exists today is impossible. Their words were unambiguous, uncompromising, and deeply confrontational. They warned that the region will not see stability or security unless, in their own words, the Israeli regime is completely removed. The statement came in response to the assassination of senior figures within Hamas in Gaza, including Mohammed Odeh, who was killed alongside his wife and 3 children in an Israeli airstrike in Gaza City. Also named was Ezzedine el-Haddad, a senior commander of the Izz ad-Din el-Qassam brigades, described as a veteran of decades-long conflict against Israel.
This almost feels illegal to know after a car accident. Never sue the person who crashed into you if you want to potentially get a 6-figure payout.
The IRGC condemned the killings as brutal and deliberate, accusing Israel of what it called predatory and destructive behavior. It stated that such strikes, rather than weakening resistance movements, would only intensify determination and deepen the cycle of conflict across the region. Israel, for its part, confirmed the targeting of Hamas military leadership, saying the operations were aimed at eliminating key operational commanders responsible for attacks. However, the IRGC's response framed the situation very differently, portraying the assassinations as evidence of what it calls an ongoing campaign against Palestinian resistance. The statement emphasized that every killing, every strike, and every escalation only strengthens what it describes as the continuation of the struggle until the liberation of Palestine and Al-Quds. The IRGC also launched a sharp political attack on Washington and its allies, criticizing long-standing Western support for Israel. It dismissed proposed peace initiatives in the region, including plans announced earlier by U.S. President Donald Trump, calling them ineffective and, in its words, built on violence, coercion, and instability. According to the statement, such proposals do not represent peace at all, but rather the continuation of conflict under a different name. The IRGC further accused Western governments of ignoring what it describes as decades of Israeli military actions, saying these events have exposed contradictions in global human rights claims and international diplomacy. It argued that the reality on the ground has now become undeniable and that global opinion is shifting in ways that cannot be reversed. The statement concluded with a reaffirmation of Iran's support for what it calls the axis of resistance and its commitment to opposing Israeli presence in the region. It declared that the struggle will continue politically, ideologically, and militarily until what it calls occupied territories are liberated. As the region watches closely, one question now hangs over an already fragile geopolitical landscape. Is this another escalation in rhetoric, or a signal of a deeper and more dangerous phase in an already volatile conflict?
Iran has thrown down the gauntlet at the United States, demanding the immediate and unconditional release of billions of dollars in frozen Iranian assets, while warning Washington that talks cannot move forward unless the money is returned. The fiery message came as tensions remain high sky after months of war, missile exchanges, naval confrontations, and the continued blockade crisis in the Strait of Hormuz. Speaking to Russia's RINA news agency, Deputy Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, Ali Bagheri Khani, declared that the frozen assets belong to the Iranian people and must be released in full and without conditions. Iranian officials argue that Washington has held back billions in oil revenues, central bank reserves, and commercial assets for decades through what Tehran calls illegal sanctions and political pressure. Iran's assets must be released unconditionally. It is the legitimate right of the Iranian people. The funds belong to the Iranian nation and should not remain subject to political pressure or restrictions imposed by Washington. According to Iran's Tasnim and Fars news agencies, the issue of frozen funds has now become the biggest obstacle in the ongoing indirect negotiations between Iran and USA. A source close to the Iranian negotiating team reportedly said meaningful diplomacy cannot even begin unless the U.S. takes concrete action on the money issue first. The standoff has intensified despite reports that Pakistan-mediated talks were inching toward a temporary memorandum based on Iran's proposed framework to end the conflict. President Donald Trump, however, publicly rejected the idea of sanctions relief during a cabinet meeting on Wednesday, insisting Iran would receive no easing of sanctions and no financial concessions in exchange for nuclear commitments. Bagheri Khani also lashed out at Washington in an interview with RT, accusing the U.S. of making detached and unrealistic demands after failing to overpower Iran militarily. He argued that America continues to rely on force instead of diplomacy, and said the conflict proved how strategically vital the Strait of Hormuz remains for Iran's national security.
تجاوز به جمهوری اسلامی ایران زیاده خواهی‌های خودش همچنان ادامه می‌دهد و در واقع مسیر پیش رو موقعی موفق خواهد بود که آمریکایی‌ها از زیاده‌خواهی‌های نامشروع دست این جنگ نشون داد که تنگه هرمز یک مسیری برای تهدید امنیت ملی جمهوری اسلامی ایران در واقع فراهم کرد و لذا ایران به عنوان یک حاکمیت مستقل حق داره که صیانت کنه از امنیت ملیش و حاکمیت ملیش و اجازه نده که امنیت ملی و حاکمیت ملیش تهدید بشه و نقض بشه. لذا در
Iranian officials maintained that their closure and control measures in the Hormuz waterway were part of legitimate self-defense after the joint U.S.-Israeli military campaign launched earlier this year. Tehran says its retaliatory strikes under Operation True Promise 4 targeted only military assets and were carried out in accordance with international law. With tensions still simmering and negotiations hanging by a thread, Iran is making one thing crystal clear: no money, no deal.
All right, brothers and sisters. As I shared, there will there's there will be no forgiveness, no peace being made. What has happened is unforgivable and cannot be dismissed. And these parties, the US and Iran, they don't see eye to eye. They do not agree with each other's negotiation, and never will they. Which leads to leads to the point that the war will continue. That things are about to intensify. That one of these parties must go. And we know how this thing is going to play out. So despite everything that you're hearing and saying, hearing and seeing, excuse me, brothers and sisters, the background, the truth of what's going to take place is the defeat of those that's against Iran. That's the reality that they can't see. And that's where this thing is headed, to the defeat and elimination for those against them. So the Injil tells us that Iran will be victorious during this time. They will gain access of the Middle East totally. And how do we know? As it says, Michael and his angels versus the dragon and his angels. Michael being the God, Master Fard Muhammad, and his angels is Iran and Syria. And the dragon being the House of Side, and his angels being America, Britain, false Israel. Those are the parties. And it said that Michael and his angels were victorious, and the house and the dragon and his angels were defeated. Yeah. It says American Britain was kicked out. False Israel was put under siege, isolated, set for destruction, setting up their destruction. Boom. Life changing. And where do you find such information, brother? Well, it's in the Injil. It's in Revelation, chapters 12. It says, and not, it proved strong, not but place was found of them yet in the heaven. Right? And was thrown the dragon, Hasasai, the dragon, the great, the serpent, the archaic, the being called devil and the Satan. America, Britain, and false Israel, the devil and the Satan. The making to air the being inhabited whole. He, the dragon, was thrown into the earth. Right? He was in heaven. They said they were thrown into the earth. I mean, they was thrown out of heaven and thrown into the earth. Angel language. The angels, the angels of him with him were thrown. Tell you that they all were defeated, kicked out of the Middle East. Bam, out of there. Lost the war. Authority and power switch. You see? So we know the outcome of this war. We know what's going to take place. And when this happens, this will change your life as you know it forever, brothers and sisters. Because America will no longer have access to oil, back to the point that I was making, which will lead to the energy crisis here in America that I was speaking about. Loss of this, loss of jobs, loss of that, homelessness, crime, this going up. The government trying to step in and stabilize things, but they can't. Things getting worse. Bad news after bad news. And, stuff is just getting worse. There's no there's uncertainty that things will get better. Things are just going totally terrible. No more nothing. No more kickbacks, concerts. No more day-to-day. Things are going to be higher, much higher. Things are going to increase. Gas, food, things that you need, resources, right? And jobs are going to be scarce. People ain't going to be able to afford anything. People not going to have jobs. People are going to be on the streets. Crime's going to rise. The pressure's increasing, right? And then, boom, total economic collapse. Now it's at its most severe point. No food, no water, no oil, no gas, no electricity, no electronics, no nothing, no getting back and forth, no going to the grocery store, ain't no food, ain't no water, ain't nowhere to be at peace. Won't be no peace. Said total economic collapse. No nothing. Famine. Complete, utter famine. Severe social unrest. You see? People freezing to death in the dead of winter. There's no energy for heating. In the dead of winter. You know how cold it is in the winter. If you've been to places where it gets real cold. And even in places that don't get cold, and it get cold. You depend on some of your heating sources to heat you up. But the place that get real cold, woo, you'll freeze to death. Be frostbitten. Freeze your internals. Outside. Frostbitten. Woo. Yeah. People will freeze to death. Starve to death. But before all those things, it says that they'll be eating everything in sight. They'll be eating rats, roaches, cats, anything crawling around. So they'll even their pets. But before their pets, it said they'll be eating their children before they eat their pets. But eventually they'll eat their pets. They'll be eating defrauded. They'll be eating disabled, mentally impaired people, the elderly, the ill, the hospitalized people, retirement home. After eating, like I said, rats, roaches, and all these things, eating all the insects, the rodents, babies, defenseless, and people who are defenseless. Right? And they'll still be suffering. It says only to have piss and shit to drink. Or drink only having piss to drink and shit to eat. At that point, right? Says right, they'll be at that point, right? After they'll resort to cannibalism. They resort to eating shit and piss. So they'll be so healthy that they'll look for death, but death will never come. That if there was the skins to be burnt completely off, rip their skins off, right? They get new skins. That's how healthy they be. They survive all piss and shit, stuff that should kill you, stuff that you thought would kill you, but death never shows up. Death is never coming. You're so healthy. Hell at its finest. Hell on wheels. Mm, 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 mm. On top of all this, said people having the urge, having the right urge and sex drive of rabbits that will never end. Horny as hell, but hungry as hell at the same time, eating one another. Mm, 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 mm. So that's what's coming here to America. You see? It says that day will be darkness, not light. In that day you will be like a man who runs from a lion only to meet a bear. Escaping from the bear, he leans his head against a wall in his house and he's bitten by a snake. There's no escape. Yes, the day of the Lord will be dark and hopeless, without a ray of joy or hope. Mm-hmm. It'll be intense. It'll be dark. What you see taking place in the Middle East, all that that's happening over there is coming here. On top of everything I'm naming, all that destruction and chaos, all the displacement, all the things that you've been witnessing, genocide, right? Them normalizing genocide, disruption, and ongoing conflicts. All these things are coming here, but worse. Anything that you get worse than anything you can imagine. Any world wars, any great depressions, any severe recessions, holocausts, mass murderings, burnings, anything that you can imagine. That's why it says men's hearts failing them from fear and the expectation of those things which are coming here on the earth, coming to America. For the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Speaking about the Michael and his angels versus Dragon's angels. Michael's angels victorious. The God. Master Prophet Muhammad and his angels around Syria defeat the dragon, the house of side, America, Britain, false Israel, and his angels, right? Boom. Authority switch. Whew. To go to the Middle East. America, Britain kicked out. You see? Outside throne defeated. False Israel set up for their destruction. It's not supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. They said when God placed them in their land, they're not to be uprooted or removed. That's not supposed to happen. That's an abomination. So who are they? That happens. I mean, they possibly couldn't be who they are. So who the hell are they? Revelations covers that. Tell you exactly who they are. It says they're Satan. It says I'm giving out the synagogue of the Satan, of the ones saying themselves Jews to be. And not they are, but they are lying. And the blasphemy, lie, which is a lie, are the ones saying what? Jews to be themselves, and not they are, but synagogue of the Satan. See? The ones who have synagogues, they're Satan. The ones calling themselves Jews, they're Satan. The ones implying to be from the tribe of Judah, they're Satan. They're claiming that they're implying that they're from the tribe of Judah. But they don't call themselves Judah, they call themselves Jews, which is slang. It's a term they use, which is slang for Judah, claiming that they're original, but they're not. They're Satan, masquerading as angel of light. You see? The ones who stole your identity, who's going to be made manifest to the world once this event takes place, and they're destroyed. Mm-hmm. So we know exactly who they are. And so soon will the world. But back to my point, men's hearts failing them from fear and the expectation of those things which are coming here to America. It says the expectation. People having heart attacks. from the expectation. It hasn't happened yet. It's just what they see and they hearing and seeing. What's taking place? They know it's coming here. It hadn't happened yet. Just anticipation, expectation, anticipation is going to get millions of men's heart attacks. People going to be dropping dead out the sky, on the road, at the job site, at the restaurant, at the events, anywhere they are. They're not going to be able to handle this. It's going to be that intense. It also says that during this time, see that men will be drunk. Men be walking around as if they were drunk, but hadn't had anything to drink. He said that children will be gray-headed. You never seen that. You never seen that in your whole lifetime. You know the amount of stress you had to be under to have gray hair as a child. Said the most tender-hearted man won't have compassion for his wife and his children. Said that a woman would give birth in silence to eat her child in her afterbirth. What do you think the children are gray-headed for? If their parents are trying to eat them. The ones who lack the most tender-hearted man won't even have compassion for them. Oh. The mother who's giving birth to her own children will eat her newborn baby. But you know she's going to eat her children, her soup, her, right, she'll eat the rest of her children. You'll be eating your children, your friends, your associates, anybody want to be on the menu. It said this time will be so dark. Men's hearts will be failing them. Boom. So that's what's set up here. That's what's set up for here in America, brothers and sisters. Exactly why it's sharing for you to get the hell out of here. Just come out of her, my people, so that you will not share in her sins, so that you will not receive any of her plagues, for her sins are piled to the heaven, and God has remembered her crimes. Give back to her as she has given. Pay her back double for what she has done. Pour her a double portion from her own cup. Give her as much torment and grief as the glory and luxury she gave herself. In America's heart, she boasts, I sit enthroned as queen. I am not a widow. I will never mourn. Therefore, in one day, which we know equals a year, her plagues will overtake her. Death, mourning, and famine. No food, no water, no this, no that, no that. Total economic collapse. She will be consumed by fire, for mighty is the Lord God who judges her. And they're telling you to get the hell out of here. Where we going, brother? Getting the hell out of here. Said you'll be a fool to stay here and lay in your imprisonment. Said complete separation. Said we getting the hell out of here. This is not set up for you. It's set up for the enemy. And this is your reward for all the hell that your enemy has put you through. 400 years of it. Of affliction, severe and total affliction, unimaginable. Completely dehumanized. Children fed to gators. Women raped. Forced to carry the enemy's baby. Demons, half devil, half man. Raping, murdering our women and children. Burning us alive, skinning us, cutting off our skins, putting them on puppets and material objects, cutting off your head, playing ball with it. You get it? Ripping this. She found out she was sleeping with you. He rip her stomach open, and snatch the baby out, throw the baby on the ground, and then take the horse and smash the baby with the hooves, smash the baby's head with the hooves of their horses. Right. So the point is, we're getting out of here. Complete separation. This is where we headed, brothers and sisters. It says what God has for you is better, which is your reward for the 400 years of total and utter affliction, severe. You see? He said, in that day, God made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. Was between these coordinates is Arabia. You see? It's telling you. Here's Abram's vision. Horror. We sojourners, and the land is not ours. America. Served and afflicted 400 years. 1619, 2019. See, also that nation whom you serve will I judge. 2020. Plague came in. Boom! COVID hit them. Said pass over those with the lamb's blood. You see? So we're supposed to pass over Israel now, right? They claim they got the lamb's blood. They claim to be true. They claim to be from the tribe of Judah. Jews. Judah. Jew. They claim to be from that tribe, right? Well, the lion, the Lamb of God, is from the tribe of Judah. They said you pass over those with the lamb's blood. They didn't pass over them. They passed over us, the black men and women of America. Pass over black Africa. Pass over those individuals because we got the same DNA structure. We got that same combination. We cut from that same cloth. We come from that same bloodline, right? Of being original. That's the point I'm making. But they're not. Because they're against us. They're against God. They're against his people. They're not who they claim to be. They're in the way. You see? They're stopping us from being blessed. They're cursing us. You see? So, right. Then it says, back to my focus. Afterwards, said they come out. See? Said we come out of her, my people, get out of here. Said we come out with great substance. But thou shalt go to their fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. And in the fourth generation, they shall come hither, here again. For the iniquity of the Amorite is not yet full. Come here. Come here. Back home. Getting the hell out of America. So the people out of vision will perish. So they made sure they didn't give it to you because they banking on your perish. So here it is, brothers and sisters. Your way out. Your second option. You don't have to suffer here in America and go through through the enemy's judgment. We just have to get prepared to move forward. Get your right mind back. Get your God mind. Or get your God mind back. Or see, this English stuff is something, man. The point is uploading your right mind, your God mind, getting rid of the devil's mind, because you can't go home with the devil's mind because you make hell for yourself. You're supposed to be going home and make paradise life forever. Say kingdom that will last forever. So you take the devil's mind with you, you take hell with you. You see? And we still got business to handle. Said, do unto them as was done to you. Now you got to get your mind back because they impose their mind on you. Now you got to get your mind. I keep saying back. You got to get your God mind and impose your mind on them. You got your roadmap, Injil, spirit of it. Now you got your protection, your discipline. You see? Your power, your discipline. 5 mathematical pillars of Islam. applying it. Boom. Then we come together, all working together, having the spirit of the unsealed scripture, the NGL, the time, the information is time, rocking and rolling, all on one page, all working together, no conflict, no interruptions, no interferences, no distortions, no confusion, all working together in sync, in harmony, peace and harmony, right? That's the goal, to get 100%. You cannot return home to you 100%. So wherever you are on that line, that's you have to go back into the incubator, the oven, to finish cooking or developing. All right. So you're 100%. So you're 80, you need 20. You're 70, you need 30. 50, you need 40, so on and so forth. You can't go home to your 100%. This is a purification process. The tribulations, which is the time of unprecedented trouble that's coming, is a trial for you. Makeup test so we can become 100%, so we can get home. Prepare us for going home. Say to burn up the enemy, but it purify you. So we will get out of here, brothers and sisters. We will. You're just that close. Hold on, brothers and sisters. We're almost there.
Donald Trump is panicking as 3 American planes have been shot down by Iran in the past 48 hours, 2 in the past 24 hours. 5 Americans have been injured. Some may be seriously injured as a result of Iranian retaliatory strikes after the United States hit Bandar Abbas, a port city in the Strait of Hormuz. If you're saying, well, when did all of this happen? I never heard about this. Exactly. The Trump regime is covering it up, although Bloomberg did some good reporting, and we have some video footage as well from Iran showing the planes that were actually hit by Iran as they've developed much more sophisticated air defense systems. And so 3 MQ-9 Reaper drones were destroyed by Iran in the past 48 hours. About 48 hours ago, 1 MQ-9 Reaper destroyed. In the past 24 hours, 2 MQ-9 Reaper drones. And these are these drones. Some of them have these Hellfire missiles. They're utilized over the Strait of Hormuz to try to intimidate, threaten, and harass Iran. And Iran's been able to really lock in on these with their radar and with their air defense systems. They've shot down now many of these MQ-9 Reapers, perhaps even totaling as much as $1 billion of MQ-9 Reapers have been destroyed. But you can see some of the video footage right here that Iran is releasing. This is new footage of yet another MQ-9 Reaper. And if this seems a little bit like deja vu because I report about these MQ-9 Reapers like every other day, this is happening on a consistent basis while the Trump regime covers it up, while CENTCOM covers it up, while the entire media apparatus here covers it up, although Hat Tip Bloomberg did do a story on that. Another thing to point out as well, it appears that 5 Americans were injured. Some may have been seriously injured in the air base in Kuwait. So remember the sequence of events earlier this week. The United States violates the ceasefire. They strike Bandar Abbas in Iran, this port city, at around 1 a.m. in the morning, remember? Then at 4:30 a.m., Iran responds, and Iran hits this air base in Kuwait that's controlled by the United States. We didn't hear much about it. Well, now we're learning more. And what we're learning is that 5 Americans were injured in this strike, and that is now being covered up by CENTCOM, by the Trump regime. They cover up everything. I remember how I reported earlier this week that when Donald Trump was in Walter Reed for that highly suspicious visit, oh, and by the way, Donald Trump, White House, they released the medical report. I don't want to call it that. I put that in quotes. Medical report Friday night, which has all of these red flags. I'll do a whole other video about all the major red flags about Donald Trump's medical report from Walter Reed. The whole thing seems like such an utter sham. I'll release that video this morning as well. Remember, Donald Trump refused to meet with the 14 service members
who were injured seriously and being treated in Walter Reed. He didn't want to be associated with them because it would remind Americans that this was a catastrophic and unlawful war that resulted in a lot of casualties. Yeah, that's why they're now covering up 5 Americans injured in Kuwait in the past 48 hours, mind you, because the Trump regime wants to pretend that there's a ceasefire and that they're so close to a deal. And then every Sunday evening into Monday morning, Barack Ravid at Axios says, okay, we're really close to a deal right now. We're about to do it. The deal's really going to happen this time. It manipulates the market, the Dow, the NASDAQ. S&P soar, Donald Trump stock trading, the Trump kids are making a lot of money, Donald's making a lot of money. He did 3,800 stock trades in the first quarter alone during the war. He's like addicted to stock trading during the war because he can manipulate the whole thing. And in his fraud mind, it's like, wait a minute, I could finally just manipulate everything and make all this money. 3,800 stock trades. So a stock trade every 9 minutes is what he's doing. But they want to cover up the reality because they know if the American people know the reality, that's going to hurt Donald Trump's stock trading. It's going to hurt the money that they're making. It's going to hurt the oligarchs and their stock manipulation that's taking place. So here's what we learned. Iranian missile strikes on Kuwaiti airbase injured 5 Americans. An Iranian Fatah 110 ballistic missile struck the Ali Al Salem airbase in Kuwait, injuring roughly 5 Americans and maybe more. But we know at least 5 Americans injured, which include both active duty personnel and contractors, and destroying at least one MQ-9 Reaper drone worth approximately $30 million, while seriously damaging another, Bloomberg reports. Kuwaiti air defense intercepted the missile, but falling debris caused the casualties and damage. And I guess we should put that in quotes too. Falling debris caused casualties and damage. That's the line that all these Middle East countries use. It wasn't the drone that attacked us. It was the falling debris that hit. No, it's the drones that are hitting. It's the missiles that are hitting. Let's be clear. The Pentagon's previous casualty report for Operation Epic Fury listed 14 Americans killed and 409 injured since the war began February 28th. And then we're learning about more MQ-9s that have been destroyed. Hat tip to Dropsite for that good summary right there. And my rule of thumb with Donald Trump fraud is that you either have to multiply by 10 to 50 or divide by 10 to 50, depending on which way he wants to defraud, if he wants to make it less or if he wants to make it more. So my view is if they say 409 people were injured, my estimate, you don't have to believe me, but my estimate, knowing Donald Trump's fraud habits, just multiply it by 10 and say, maybe there's 4,000 injured or so. It would be my estimate, knowing that Donald Trump lies. So then in the past 24 hours, 2 more drones were reportedly downed in Iran. And so that was on Friday. So the others Wednesday, Thursday, then Friday, 2 more MQ-9 Reapers. And you can see, the Iranians are sharing video on their social media. Yes, they have social media. Yes, they have a Navy. Yes, they have an IRGC. Yes, they have their ability to, in fact, Iran's ability is better than I think when the war started. About the same or perhaps slightly worse. Some say it could be possibly better, but the bottom line is they continue to knock down MQ-9 Reapers. Reports and social media footage suggest the U.S. may have lost 2 more MQ-9 Reaper drones on Friday. One drone was downed near Iran's Qashem Island, while another was reportedly shot down over Yemen's Marib province. Each MQ-9 Reaper costs more than $30 million, and it seems like we're losing 2 or 3 of these a day at this point. So about $100 million in MQ-9 Reapers being lost every day or every other day. And then at 12 a.m., 12:05 a.m., Donald Trump has his meltdown as usual, and here's what he posts. The failing New York Times is doing everything to criticize the magnificent restoration of the reflecting pool located between the 2 America's most important landmarks, the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument. Okay, get over your reflecting pool, okay? You are beyond weird about the reflecting pool. Oh, and by the way, the Kennedy Center is not going to be named the Trump Kennedy Center anymore. That was an act of vandalism. A federal judge ruled, and Donald Trump lost it over this federal judge ruling. that said that Trump has to immediately remove his name from the Kennedy Center, immediately open up the Kennedy Center, he shut it down, and to stop vandalizing it and destroying it and ripping apart from the inside. A federal judge issued a powerful injunctive order against Donald Trump saying, get your name off that. Donald Trump was spiraling all last night about that. He posted a 500, 600 word essay on social media. I was going to make it beautiful. It was going to be great. But if I can't do it, nobody can do it. Nobody can do it, I tell you. Also, very disgustingly, Donald Trump kept on posting videos and photos of the woman who he sexually assaulted. I mean, what a sicko. Trump was found civilly liable for sexually assaulting E. Jean Carroll in a federal trial. Then Trump ordered, or rather, his DOJ, he set in motion or ordered his DOJ to criminally investigate E. Jean Carroll. It's been reported for lying under oath when she didn't lie under oath in a case that she prevailed on, where a jury ruled against Donald Trump unanimously. All of the jurors agreed that Donald Trump sexually assaulted E. Jean Carroll and defamed her. But in that case, Donald Trump says that she engaged in a crime in a case that she won against him, where he was the loser and found liable for sexual assault. And now he's posting photos and videos of E. Jean Carroll while 5 American service members or contractors were injured in Kuwait that's being covered up, and 3 planes are destroyed while they're faking the ceasefire. This is what's going on right now. Are you kidding me right now? Here's what Donald Trump's posting about E. Jean Carroll. Never forget that E. Jean Carroll called rape sexy. So Donald Trump saying that the woman that he sexually assaulted called rape sexy. Never forget that Trump accuser E. Jean Carroll called rape sexy on live TV. How sick is this guy? How disgusting is this guy? And then he has his regime puppets like Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. He was speaking at a Reagan Foundation event, and he's like, "Well, we didn't do regime change, but we changed the regime in Iran." What are you talking about? Here, play this clip.
The Iranians have engaged as they could. I would point out we did not have regime change, but we changed the regime. The first level leaders decapitated, the second level decapitated, so we're dealing with the third level, and it's very tough.
Then Trump's Treasury Secretary Pete Hegseth is at the Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore. Here's what he had to say. Let's play this clip.
For too long, polite pleas from our European allies to spend more on their own defense fell on deaf ears. They're finally playing catch up, and we let ourselves get distracted by empty globalist rhetoric about the rules-based international order, while European capitals threw open their borders and hollowed out their militaries. You can have all the rules you want, and rules are great, but if you can't back them up with hard power, the rules are not worth the paper they are written on.
Oh, great. Just bragging about ripping to shreds the world order. And he's like, who cares about rule-based orders? No one cares about rule-based orders. Oh, and then you have Trump's head of one of the architects of Project 2025, Kevin Roberts, bragging that Donald Trump's implemented the full Project 2025 vision. Here's what this guy had to say. Play this clip.
Did the president implement Project 2025 in this first year plus of his second term?
Well, thanks for that question, because since 1980, Heritage has been offering presidential transition projects, which we generally call Mandate for Leadership. What's known as Project 2025 was done on such a scale that we proposed 1,913 recommendations. 1,055 as we sit here have been implemented. The person who deserves credit for that is one Donald J. Trump. If we played a role through our policy scholarship, through message testing and helping to craft public opinion upstream of electoral politics, that's great. Heritage exists not to take credit, but to offer great ideas.
More from Hegseth at the Shangri-La event in Singapore. And here's how China is reporting on the event. South China Morning Post. Speaking 2 weeks after the meeting between Donald Trump and Xi Jinping, Hegseth also adopted a cautious stance on U.S. arms sales to Taiwan when questioned. And this is the China headline. How U.S. Defense Chief Hegseth softened his tone towards China after Trump and Xi meeting. Xi Jinping. And then Hegseth at this event in Singapore said that Donald Trump is being very patient with the deal in Iran. He's only going to make a great deal. It's going to be a great one. It's a deal, a great deal, a fantastic deal. Deal. They're just going to keep on talking about deals. Not going to do one. They're just going to say deal. Here's what Pete Hegseth had to say. It's so humiliating. Here, play this clip.
Secretary, is the U.S. pausing weapons shipments to Taiwan?
You said any deal would be a good deal. Can you expand on that with Iran?
What did the president
Would
say
any
to you?
deal really be a good deal?
I love the disingenuous questions from the disingenuous press. Said it will be a good deal. That's a very important clarification that maybe CNN can get right.
What did the president express to you on the phone?
Thank you. Patience. The president's patient. He's only going to get a great deal. And I know we'll get a great deal. That's not any deal, that's a great deal. And he was resolute in that, which I think is what the world would want the President of the United States to do. Thank you, guys.
Right. And I'll show you what a distinguished Columbia University professor, Jeff Sachs, had to say about what the United States needs to do. Listen to his perspective. Let's play it.
Well, you stop. The United States should go home. We don't even need an agreement. We just need to go home. And then one could say, well, what would Iran do if the United States just went home? I'll tell you what Iran would do. It would open the Strait of Hormuz. It would do nothing bad in its neighborhood because Iran wants the U.S. to go home.
And meanwhile, the Iranian port authority that they use to collect tolls now posted the following message. The U.S. Treasury Department recently announced sanctions on the PGSA. That's the Iranian control organization in the Strait of Hormuz. PGSA, while condemning this action, considers being sanctioned by a country whose leader takes pride in piracy a sign of its own positive performance. You will not gain control over the Strait of Hormuz, which you failed to achieve through warfare and diplomacy by means of sanction either. Despite the provocative actions of the United States in the waters of the Persian Gulf and the Sea of Oman, this body continues without interruption to review and grant passage permits to non-hostile vessels in order to facilitate navigation. Statistics from the first month of the PGSA's activities will be published soon. In other words, Iran is showing that it is unfazed by the Trump regime's additional sanctions against it. You also have their National Security Council, one of their National Security Council leaders in Parliament, Abraham Azizi, says, Trump must know that Iran, as the victor and conqueror of the field, sets the terms. Criticism for criticism, credit for credit, nothing for nothing. Of course, for the matters under negotiation, not his wishes. Or Abraham Razizi, another member of parliament, says, Iranian management of the Strait of Hormuz has been solidified worldwide, which is why countries obtain permission, pay the costs, and with the guidance of the IRGC Navy, pass their vessels through. The only one who hasn't believed it or doesn't want to believe it is Trump. Every now and then he sends his army to open the strait. They come and get beaten and go back. Mr. Bessent, Treasury Secretary Bessent, instead of all the extra huffing and puffing, think about bowing to the power of the Iranians in the Persian Gulf. So that's how they feel about it in Iran. We'll keep you posted every step of the way. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. And thanks for watching, everybody.